Hey everybody, this is the story, the wrap up on how I redid the mount on the tilting bracket. If you saw my other video where I cut the dovetail groove here, actually I didn't cut the mount short enough, and so I went through methodically and just shortened it a little bit, and the fit is great. Really happy about how it came out now. I mounted it back up just temporarily anyway on the rotating bracket. Got things tightened down a little bit too tight actually, but you can see what it looks like. Here, let me get a wrench and loosen that up. Of course, when I get all done, there's ball handles that are already made for these things. So I put the split cotters back in there, and let me show you how it tilts. So it tilts nice. This is going to be great. I know I still have a lot to do on this to have it workable. I guess I would probably say I'm about halfway through now, maybe a little bit more than half. But the things that I still have yet to do, obviously I have to make the tool holders themselves. And I've got that awesome 5C tool holder that I got from Martin Model, Gary Martin at Martin Model and Pattern. So that may be the first one that I make, because I really think I'm going to get a ton of use out of that. But here's the just about 30 degrees angle that way, and a little bit more than 30 this way. Getting all goofed up here, but I'll need to relieve here underneath. But really excited about how this thing's coming together. Obviously the tool holder needs to be made. That's the assembly that goes up here, and then the spindle and the motor mount. That's why I say I'm only about halfway through, or maybe a little bit more than halfway. But for those of you that are building a Quorn, Maddie's workshop, he did a great job making the spindle on his, and he did a great job documenting. I think he's got 3 different videos that show making the spindle, the grinding spindle that goes in here. So I'll be certainly copying him on that. That may be the last thing I do, the spindle and the motor mount. Kind of excited about working on the tool holder now, getting that done next. But I will keep you posted as always. Appreciate all the new subscribers. Thank you so much. Thanks to the folks that are passing the word. It's much appreciated, and very enjoyable to see the channel growing like that. So thanks again. Hope you enjoy this. Just stay tuned for the following. There's clips. This will be shorter, I don't know, maybe 10-12 minutes at the most, showing how I went about reworking. So it'd be worthwhile looking at that. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great one. Bye. Okay, the first step in correcting the tilting bracket, basically shortening this part right here by about 1/8 of an inch, is that I've put it on a mandrel, just a piece of 1/2 inch steel stuck in the drill chuck here, and as you can see, it's roughly centered. I've got some cushioning pieces. Let me show you on the various sides. So now that I've got this done, then the next thing I'll do is I'll use a dial test indicator to check the outside diameter of this piece, make sure it's perfectly centered. It's basically the same setup that I had before, so I think it'll be close. I shouldn't have to move it more than a couple thou. And once I have that, then I just shorten this thing down and cut the 45-degree angle, try to make it as perfect as possible, and I should be good. Hey guys, I wanted to show this. Not only did I just use the rod that I showed in the first video, basically just as a supportive device, and then I've put out this is a 1/2 thou interrapid indicator that I'm using, and I've painstakingly gone over this and centered it, so to make sure that it's perfectly centered in the 4-jaw. I like using 4-jaws. My mentor Fred watched one of my Quorn videos about the 4-jaw and had some good points. If I can figure out a way to add the link to the video he sent me, I'll do that here for y'all. But I'll show you one of the tricky parts I've had. If you notice, there's a little, it might be hard to see, I put a little extra line here because I actually have a flat spot right where jaw number 1 is. When I machined the sides, I machined it a little bit too narrow, unfortunately, and I got a little bit of a flat spot, which messes up the dial reading there. So I put a mark there that's a place I can indicate from, that's right before the flat spot. You'll see the indicator wig out when it goes over the flat spot, and then it comes back down. So Anyway, I've got it centered that way, and I'll also, before I do anything else, well, I'll remove the little 1/2 inch rod. I'll take the indicator off, then I'll figure out a way to put the indicator inside a tool holder so that I can sweep the cone that I cut and set the top slide angle perfectly at 45 degrees. Because after I remove the material, about 120 thousandths from the edge of that, then I'm going to have to cut that cone again. I'll show you how I do that. Okay, just to follow up on the fixing of the length of the tilting bracket, after carefully centering it, and I used an indicator here to make sure I had the angle set just right for the 45-degree angle for the cone, and I cut off about 90 thousandths of an inch in the length here. I figured I'd try a little bit shorter than, since it was hard to measure. It's always easier to cut more off later if you get my drift. So I cut off about 90 thou, and then I cut the cone out, and I've been test fitting it, just taking several cuts. I don't know if you can see this very well or not, but here, as you can see, the depth, hopefully you can make that out. I'll take it out in a minute, but I'm thinking this is really good. This is a really good fit here. It feels good. There's no shake. It's I think we're right on here. So I'll take this out. I need to file down the top just a wee bit. You can't do that in the lathe because this thing would knock the file right out of your hand. So I'll take it out, file it out a little bit, deburr it, and I'll show you what the finished product looks like.